This is a review for a parts of speech test. First, we're going to go through all 8 parts of speech, give some definitions, examples, go through how they can function, and go through some different classifications. Then we're going to look at a test, the original test, and go through the right answers, and a couple of example sentences if we have time. Noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. It can function in a couple different ways. First, a noun can function as a subject. Here, John, a person, hurried. The subject is who or what the sentence is about, or the actor of the verb. Nouns can also be places, like Kansas, or heaven, or earth. And in this sentence, Kansas is the subject, heaven is the complement, and earth is the object of this preposition. Notice the subject complement is connected to a linking verb. So Kansas is described directly as another noun, heaven. Things such as bulldozers or trees show up in this next sentence. Bulldozers, subject. Trees is the direct object of this verb, can destroy. In this sentence, wisdom is an idea or an abstract noun. Here it is the direct object of the verb. And science is a noun that is used as a modifier to describe teachers. Sometimes nouns in front of subjects or other nouns can do that. Another example of a noun as a modifier is a possessive noun, such as Rupert's, the underbite that belongs to him. But I would say people that miscategorize nouns are scarier. Next up are pronouns, and typically these replace nouns. They can function as a subject, object, complement, or modifier, just like nouns. And specifically, there is a subtype called indefinite pronouns that do not replace a noun, but instead refer to a general person, thing, or group. In these example sentences, there are 2 pronouns. First, he is describing John, and it directly replaces that noun in the next sentence. And the second is my, which is referring to the speaker, and replaces whoever the speaker is. In this second sentence, he is functioning as a subject. But in the first, my is functioning as a modifier describing brother. In this sentence, there are 2 pronouns, they, the subject, and me, the indirect object, or the recipient of the goblet. When there are 2 objects like this in a row, me and goblet, this one is called the indirect object, where the goblet is the direct object. In a sentence like revenge is mine is a pronoun, and here it's functioning as a complement, connected to a linking verb. So revenge is being linked to mine, which is a possessive pronoun. In a short sentence like anyone see that, we have 2 different pronouns. Anyone is an example of an indefinite pronoun. In fact, we can put different words in front of these words, one, body, and thing, to see a whole bunch of different indefinite pronouns, like anyone, anybody, anything, someone, somebody, something, everyone, everybody, everything, no one, nobody, nothing, just to name a few. That is a demonstrative pronoun. Words like this, that, these, those, or such specify a specific noun. Sometimes it's confusing because a word like some is a pronoun that has different functions. In this top sentence, some are kind, some is the subject. But in this bottom sentence, some is a determiner of sorts, describing people. We'll call this a modifier, and we'll still classify it as a pronoun. In some organizations, a determiner is the 9th part of speech, but not in our class. Another type of pronoun is a relative pronoun, as in who, or that, or which, or whom. These pronouns are another way to begin a dependent clause, and they can be non-essential, such as my mentor, who has an impressive beard, lifts weights, and those are separated by commas, or they can be essential, as in who fell down, which out of all the men in the world, it describes which one we're talking about when we say was sympathetic to the clown. A verb describes action or a state of being. Walks is an action verb, is a state of being verb. Another word for these is linking verbs. And what they do is they link a noun to a description of that noun. Bill and tired, for example, are linked. We can link a subject to either a noun, an adjective, or a pronoun. In a sentence like, it could have been prevented, prevented is my main verb, an action verb, but there's also 3 different helping verbs, could, have, and been. There's a couple different categories of helping verbs that will either help to express time, clarify meaning, or express possibility or necessity, just to name a few. But they are all part of a simple predicate connected as one verb phrase, and you can have one or multiple for a single verb. Adjectives describe or limit nouns and pronouns. They show up in front of a noun or pronoun, like loose, describing lips, or after a linking verb, like loose, describing pants. And if you spell loose with only one O, I'm really going to lose it. Adverbs can describe a verb, like humming softly. They can describe an adjective, like that is a very bright lamp. They can describe another adverb, like he walked really slowly. Or an entire clause, like sadly, I did not get a refund. A bonus adverb there was the word yesterday, which answered the question of when he walked. In this first sentence, he fell down. Down is an adverb that tells you where. In this second sentence, it's a preposition because it has this object, the stairs. To be continued. In a sentence like, he was completely shocked to find his tree struck by lightning, completely answers the question, to what degree? Or if I was Rick Harrison and this was my pawn shop, I might say, you never know what is going to come through that door. And never answers the question of frequency, another type of adverb. You might see always or often instead. Prepositions connect a noun or a pronoun to the rest of the sentence. In connects the object circles to the verb ran. By connects the noun numbers to painted. In connects the idea of hurry way back to Pat. With connects me to the rest of the sentence. Conjunctions connect words, phrases, or clauses. Coordinating conjunctions, such as the fanboys, for and nor but or yet so, join words, phrases, or clauses of equal weight, whether that be comma fanboys when you are joining 2 independent clauses, or no comma if you are just joining, say, words or phrases. To show subordinating conjunctions, let's start with an idea like I sing. If you add a word like when in front of it, it no longer expresses a complete thought. If you get rid of when, it does, but if you add when, it doesn't. One common structure is to have a dependent clause, such as when I sing, connected with a comma to an independent clause or a main clause. The subordinating conjunction is a word like when, or because, or although, or while. Let's consider these different sentences, though. I sing while in the shower. I sing because it makes my daughter fall asleep. In this first sentence, while is an adverb, and it means during which. But in the second example, it is a subordinating conjunction because there is a subject verb, just like in the first clause. And notice when you have an independent clause, then a dependent clause, you typically don't put a comma. A student might look at a sentence like this. Not only does this sentence have one of the fanboys, comma, but, it also has its pair, making it correlative, and they might say, comma, but. That's the conjunction. It's coordinating. But also, and not only, work together as a pair. That's called a correlative conjunction. Same function as a coordinating conjunction, but it comes in a pair. Conjunctive adverbs are a special type of adverb that are taught with conjunctions because they join together clauses. However, they're like a conjunction light. If you try to use one of these adverbs, such as therefore or however, with a comma alone to join clauses, that's a comma splice. Instead, you would want to use a semicolon conjunctive adverb, comma, or just period conjunctive adverb, comma. If it's within a clause, you can surround it with commas. But when connecting 2 clauses, like I think, therefore I am, or he thinks he knows me, however he has no idea, it's more appropriate to have the semicolon and the comma. Finally, interjections are words or phrases used informally to express emotion, as in, wow, my sick of parts of speech, or yikes, that test was hard, or oops, I forgot to study. Hopefully not. So let's go over the parts of speech sentence structure summative assessment then. The directions were to identify the part of speech for each numbered word, for 1 through 10 and 13 through 22, and then classify the sentence for 11 through 12 and 23 through 24. Wow, did you know the world's first vending machine was invented by Egyptians in the 1st century? Wow is an interjection. It shows emotion. You would replace a noun, in this case, the person you're talking to. First is describing this vending machine, and vending machine is a noun, so it's an adjective. Egyptians is a proper noun. Notice the capital E. Also, the clue that it's a noun, it's following a preposition, so it's the object of that preposition. And by has a noun, machine, after it. So that's the object of this preposition. The only item served by the machine was holy water. A 5-drachma coin would get you a small amount of the... Ooh, suspenseful. Was here is a verb. It's a linking verb, which is still a verb. And would is a helping verb for the main verb get, but it's still a verb. And amount is a noun. Some clues were this determiner, a, or this adjective small in front of it. Sacrificial water, and the water would be used in the holy temples. And is a conjunction, one of the fanboys. And holy is in front of temples, describing or limiting it. That's an adjective. Next up, we looked at the sentence structures of sentences B and C and decided they were either simple, compound, complex, or compound complex. So if we break down this sentence as item was water, noting that the only is describing item and served by the machine is a participle phrase describing item, was being a linking verb, and wholly describing water, we can try to count the subjects and verbs. Hint, there's one subject and there's one verb, which means this is a simple sentence. Looking at the next sentence is a little bit longer, but we really only needed to pay attention to this comma coordinating conjunction, because that tells us already that it's at least compound. And if we consider the subjects and verbs, coin would get, water would be used. So we don't have a complex sentence anywhere, because we don't have any dependent clauses. So this one is just compound. There's no time to change colors anymore because I'm down to 5% of my Apple Pencil's battery, but that's okay. Carefully here is an adverb. Into is a preposition. Notice it had a object, a slot just after it. Strike is the verb. It had a helping verb would in front of it. Which is a relative pronoun. A lot of people thought this was a subordinating conjunction beginning this clause here, which kind of makes sense. But instead, it's a special type of dependent clause which starts with a relative pronoun. Who, whom, whose, that, which are some of those. And from is a preposition. One potential flaw in this test was here just before number 19. It was kind of hard to see that that was a comma on some of the copies. If you did see that it was a comma, you would have recognized once the coin fell as not a complete thought, and that would have helped you to recognize once as a conjunction. Fell is the verb. Are is a linking verb. Usually is an adverb of frequency. And or is one of the fanboys, a coordinating conjunction. The sentence structure of sentence F, that first clause, once the coin fell, it has a subject, coin, it has a verb, fell. And because of the subordinating conjunction once, it is dependent. Then I have stream would be cut, so subject, verb. And that's an independent clause. It expresses a complete thought, making this sentence complex. Sentence G, machines are used, was the only set of subject-verb. So that's why this one would have been simple. Just to break down what else is going on here. Today's vending described the machines. Usually is an adverb describing are used. And this to purchase is an infinitive form of a verb, making this one whole infinitive phrase. And then candy or carbonated beverages are the object. Or objects. And or is a conjunction joining them.